Hey Aria, I challenge you to a duel.
I accept.
Whoa! Have you ever looked at all the gear musicians use and wonder, how does it all work? My name's Dustin, and my family and I are setting out on a quest to inspire both adult and kid musicians to create new sounds together and learn all about what it takes to produce great music. We'd like to invite you along on the journey as we explore the gear professional studios, musicians, and hobbyists use to create their art. We'll take a close-up look at the gear and ask,
What's this button do?
Hello everyone and welcome to this week's episode of What's This Button Do? I'm your host Dustin, and this week we're going to take a look at one of my favorite pedals of all time and talk about how I use it in my rig because it's a little different than what most people have looked at before. Now this pedal was designed by a gentleman named Jesse Davey from Kingtone Effects, and Jesse makes some of the most interesting, amazing pedals out there. The man knows the Stevie Ray Vaughan sound better than any pedal maker, in my opinion. He really can nail that SRV and has a ton of pedals that kind of bring that emphasis that you'll see from the old steel string singer amps and that Dumble-esque kind of sound. He can just absolutely nail it. But several years ago, one of his first pedals that really caught on in the mainstream was a pedal called the Duellist. Now, the Duellist has been through several revisions over the years. The model we're going to be looking at today is the V3 model, but honestly, the tips and tricks I'm going to be talking about will apply to all the versions of the Duellist. It's just a little bit easier to do on the V3 because they've added some exterior controls. But what the Duellist is, and I'll throw a little picture up here for you guys to take a look at before we dig into the pedal board. But the Duellist itself is a dual pedal, so it's really two pedals in one. The right-hand side, or channel A, is based on an old Tube Screamer. It's actually based on one of Jesse's favorite Tube Screamers, and it's tweaked to have that voicing. But it's so much more because he's so intelligent in the way he designs his pedals. He's actually got little switches on there that will change the diode so it gives you a glass, a stock, and a darker setting so you can kind of brighten it up or you can darken up your signal. And all of that happens before it's actually getting into the EQ controls on the pedal, which allows you to really dial in your sound tuned specifically to your guitar that you're playing and the amp that you're playing. We'll look at all that in a few minutes as we get into the actual deep dives. But essentially, you've got this really good Tube Screamer, and I really hate to say Tube Screamer because I'm not a huge Tube Screamer fan, but this thing is awesome. And then it's going into side B, which is a blues breaker side, which is traditionally a little bit darker drive. The Tube Screamer tends to be the trebly drive, and the blues breaker tends to be this darker drive. So what a lot of people are doing is treating it kind of like a King of Tone from Analog Man. They're taking those two sides, they're driving them into each other, and they're creating this kind of cool, boosted overdrive distortion. And when you go on YouTube and you search for King of Tone videos, 9 times out of 10, that's what you're going to see. That is not what I'm going to do today, because all of you who have been researching the King of Tone, I'm sure have seen a ton of these videos. I don't want to reiterate what's already been said. If that's the tone you're looking for, this does it in spades. It's awesome. It does a really cool drive. Go watch all those other videos out there. Jesse even posted his own video. It's great. It'll give you all the information you need. Go check out those videos. Today, I'm going to show you some things that I think people have missed about this pedal because of assumptions that they've made about old TS9s and blues breakers that they're not really utilizing the pedal for, because there is so much more in here. I don't use this as my main drive. I use this as a stacked overdrive, and I use it at the beginning of my signal chain to push other fuzz pedals and other drive pedals and sculpt their sound. And almost like an EQ, I'm using this pedal to change the sounds. So I want you to join me over at the pedal board. We're going to take a look at that, and I'm going to show you how it works. All right, so on this week, we're going to be using the Les Paul from last week's episode. I've just got everything set up clean. So this is our clean tone. Just a little bit of amp reverb on there, nothing else special. So that's what we're going to be hearing. So we're going to talk about the Duellist now. So the Duellist itself, most people will have this kind of cranked up a little bit, usually run it in stock or glass, and then they'll be setting up kind of a heavy drive from this. What I'm going to do today is I've got this is the first pedal in my chain. I've got it set up into a little pedal board down below me. And on there, I have got a couple of fuzz pedals. I've got a Klon. It's just a Mythos, their version of a Klon. And then a Benson Germanium Fuzz. We're going to use a Big Muff, a Germanium Fuzz, and we're going to use the Mjolnir. And I'll tell you when I'm using those. And we're going to push the Kingtone into those. And I'm going to show you what happens to the sound because it totally changes it and gives it a really unique tone that I think you guys are going to like. So the idea is to get away from just using the Mjolnir as your main, the Duellist as your main drive. Think of this more like that kind of boosting EQ coming into your drive pedal, and I'm going to show you how that works. So first of all, I'm going to show you how I've got everything set up. So I'm going to turn the pedal on its side real quick so you can see this. Now, when you get this from the factory, these little dip switches on the side, if you're running in version 3, they've moved these to the outside to make them easier. It shows you the factory settings here. Usually all these are up, and that sounds okay. Personally, I like bringing everything down, so I use the Stevie Ray Vaughan mod with the amp-like sound instead of the classic sound. I use asymmetrical clipping. I use the amp-like instead of classic there, and I usually use overdrive versus distortion. And then I leave the clip up here on symmetric clipping on the first one, and then I always run A into B. You can mess with these. There's lots of different settings there. I won't go into all these on this video. There's tons of videos out there showing what those different dip switches do. If you have any questions, comment down below. I'll be glad to fill you in on those, and we can even do a deeper dive if we need to. But I want to keep this video somewhat short to make it easier. So that's how I've got this set up. I like that because by itself, and I'm going to turn it on real quick. We'll turn on each side. On the Tube Screamer side, you can hear. So here it just gives a little bit more treble boost, kind of that push, but you'll notice it's not getting ice picky. Even though I've got the glass setting on, if I go to stock, see it tames it down just a little bit. The glass makes it a little bit more gnarly, and when I really boost this up into the heavier drive, sorry about that. When I boost that up a little bit, you can hear a little bit of the gain staging in there, but you notice it's still not ice picky to the sound, which is what a lot of tube screamers, they'll kind of make that treble side too much. So it's really not bad, but I like to run it more down in this area, and I'll show you why in a second. Now, this is the part that interests me because blues breakers, I've played a ton of them. They're really fun. They're a great sound, but they're usually a little bit on that darker, heavy drive sound. So when I crank this all the way up, I'll kind of show you what I mean. I'm going to put it in the stock position. Okay, cool drive, right? But here's the trick with this. If you turn this down to right about here, leave your tone right here, and I usually keep the volume levels. I have the volume side on this a little bit higher, and you'll see why. Do you hear how nice and trebly that sounds? I'm going to turn off my signal. There's my clean. See, that almost acts as another treble boost on top of that, but it's not, again, not making it into a shrill sound. Now, if we turn them both on at the same time, so you have a really nice soft overdrive, it's not too much. See? Nothing crazy, nothing too ear splitting. And that's with a Les Paul pickup. We're talking a humbucker here, something that typically would be a little darker and muddier. You can still get that nice spank out of it. So that's the Duellist by itself. That's how a lot of people are playing it. Most people will crank the gain up a little bit, but you know what I mean. But now I want to show you the magic of this when I start bringing in other pedals. So we're going to start with the Klon circuit. We're going to use the Mythos Mjolnir. And I've got it set up to just a nice middle gain where I've got the knobs kind of turned to the middle. And this is what it sounds like by itself. So very nice, right? But now watch when I bring in this side. Hear how you're getting a little bit more chime out of that? Just bring it up just a little bit, and I can even crank this just a little. And then we add in the first one. Stay completely out, circuit. See how much heavier that drive feels? But now, taking my hands off, I'm not doing anything special. I've got 3 drives cascading into each other, right? I've got the steel string singer side, I've got your heavy hand side, and I've got the Mjolnir going. Yet you're really not hearing a ton of gain, crazy feedback. I can talk over the top of this. It's not like we've got our amps maxed out and we're pushing them to the limit. But listen to how sweet that sounds. And now watch, I'm going to play a little drum track behind here. And I'm going to start with these off, and I'm going to let you hear how this cuts through the mix. Hear how that kind of comes out? Let's try with a little lead. We'll turn these off. Just really pushes you right up through that and starts bringing that guitar to the front and really makes it present. Now this is even more apparent when you start using fuzz. Let's turn on that Benson fuzz I was talking about earlier. One of my favorite fuzzes. This is that Benson Germanium. Beautiful sounding fuzz, but it's a little darker. Now let's bring in this side. Hear how it just brings it up over that edge, gives it a little bit more bite to it. And then when we add the other one in, none of those are bad sounds. All 3 sound good. But with just 2 pedals, you've now essentially given yourself 3 completely different gain tones just in the fuzz setting. But really, you've got like 9 different tones altogether between those 3 different pedals you can switch and modify between. I absolutely love this. And again, if we bring in some gain here, let's bring in that drum track again. If you noticed that, but when I started playing, when all 3 were on, you could hear the pick attack more articulate, you could hear the strings coming through more articulate. It just brings everything to the surface. That's what I love about the Duellist. It just makes everything sound better. By just this little bit of drive coming in before it, you can make all of your other pedals sound amazing. Now, final test, the Big Muff test. Now, this is always tricky because a Big Muff tends to be thicker, heavier, and mushier fuzz, right? So I'm going to turn on my favorite Big Muff here. This is the Ram's Head from Stomp Under Foot. Cool? Now watch, we'll add the steel string singer in. Did you catch that? Let's go back. Now let's add in the other side. Do you hear how amazing? Listen to the sustain. What that did to the sustain there, we're still sustaining those notes. Turn this off, it's gonna drop out. It is crazy how good this makes a Big Muff pedal sound. This will breathe new life into some of your old pedals that you may not even be thinking about right now. That's what I love about the Duellist. Let's add that in with a little drum track again. Bring this in. Drop this one out. Just absolutely nuts how well that works. So I hope that gives you a little bit of an idea of how you can use this with other pedals. Don't just think of the Kingtone as a regular drive. So what'd you think? Totally different way to go about using the Duellist from Kingtone, but I genuinely believe the richness and the bite that brings to every other pedal after it is so harmonically rich and so beautiful. It just becomes an essential part of every board I build. Since I've gotten the Duellist, I've never taken it off, but I've also never once used it as my main drive. It has always been that sweetener that pushes all my other favorite pedals into this whole new realm. And to be quite honest, I have played with this with probably 50 different drive pedals, and I've never once had a pedal that did not play nice with the Duellist. This will work with weird fuzzes. It works with all sorts of crazy older style pedals that usually don't take drives very well in front of it. I've been so impressed with the sounds that you can get with this. I just can't say enough of good about this. Jesse nailed it. This is a straight up 5-star out of 5-star. It is one of the most versatile pedals. Does it work as a regular drive? If you just needed one drive pedal on your board and that's it, sure. Yeah, absolutely. It can do low gain overdrives. It can do high gain overdrives. It will push an amp just about anywhere you want it to go. So I'm all aboard. If you're making a fly rig and you need a small little boost pedal or a small drive pedal, you're getting 2 for 1. It's fantastic. It has never replaced my Brown Protein or my Analog Man King of Tone. Those are still always on my board. But I do find it to be one of the most versatile drives out there. But I truly believe its magic, its sweetness, its special sauce is driving another pedal to give you this awesome cascading gain that just makes you punch through the mix and sound fantastic. Well done, Jesse. Thank you so much for sharing this with us. Everyone, thank you for coming out today. I want to thank my friends at Palen again for making all of this possible. Make sure you reach out to them if you ever want to try to check some of this gear out. Please reach out to me if you have any questions. If you think I should do more deep dives into this pedal, if you want to know more about it, I'm glad to do that. Get back to you. My contact information is down below. Don't forget to hit me up on Instagram at What's This Button Do, Dustin. Feel free to reach out anytime if you have any questions. Thank you again for coming out this week. Next week, we are going to be doing a little something different. We're taking a deep dive into another product, but it's something a little unusual for me. So please join us then. We'll have some fun, and we'll see you then. Take care and have a wonderful week.